Hello and welcome back to another video, guys. In today's video we're going to be discussing why weight gain, in particular gains in fat mass or body fat, is caused by how much you eat and not by what you eat. People think weight gain is caused by what you eat and not how much. Now, this is incorrect. This myth has been circling around the industry for ages. Certain foods get demonized, such as carbs, sugars, fat, you name it. So gains in body fat or fat mass is caused by over-consuming your calories. So if you over-consume your maintenance calories, also known as your total daily energy expenditure, which is referencing to the amount of calories that you need each day to sustain your energy output. So if you over-consume that amount of calories, you will gain body fat, because body fat is just stored energy. So if you over-consume your maintenance, your body will store that surplus of energy away in the form of body fat, okay? So in contrast to this, if you want to lose weight or lose body fat, you need to be placed in a calorie deficit. Now, by definition, this means consuming less calories than what is required for maintenance. Or you can either do cardio or any activity that burns calories. As long as you don't eat them calories back and you've created a calorie deficit, you will be able to lose body fat. Now, I recently saw a post by Men's Health a few weeks ago alluding to the fact that body fat is caused by what you eat and not how much. Now, this is quite annoying because Men's Health have a big following. So it's quite frustrating when you see an account with lots of followers pushing false and incorrect information. For anyone who wants to lose weight, they shouldn't be falsely led by bullshit out there. We need to push to have evidence-based, accurate information out there which is easily digestible for the average person. By doing this, it means that the average person can understand the simple principles behind fat loss, if that's the goal, and apply it into their lifestyle to make it work for them, instead of being failed by the bullshit out there and being left to their own devices, constantly spinning their wheels around and getting no results. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to try and break down and make it easy to understand and prove to you why gains in body fat is caused by how much you eat and not by what you eat. Before we move on with the video, I just wish to highlight that I do personally believe that the quality of food is important. I'm not saying it isn't. I would recommend to anyone to consume a diet full of whole foods, fruits and vegetables, because the quality of food can affect things such as body composition, how energized you feel, how satiated you feel, and may have influence over your overall health. So I do think it's obvious that the quality of food is important. I also just want to cover another myth out there before we get fully deep into breaking down why the quantity of food matters over the quality when it comes to fat loss. Now, people will claim that all calories aren't created equal. Now, this is false, because a calorie is simply just a unit of energy. It's a measurement of energy. So by saying all calories aren't created equal would be like saying all kilograms aren't created equal or all meters aren't created equal. Now, the last time I checked, there's 1,000 millimeters in a meter. So all calories are created equal. However, when different nutrients enter the body does respond to them different and they have different effects. For example, protein and fiber will give you a greater TEF, which stands for thermic effect of food. Now, all this means is when you consume a diet high in protein and fiber, your body will burn more calories trying to break down the protein and fiber because it's harder to extrapolate the nutrients from. Therefore, within this process, you will burn more calories compared to carbohydrates and fat. So yes, it's true, different macronutrients can have a different effect on the body when consumed. But when we're talking about overall fat loss, it's simply the matter of calories in versus calories out, which is also known as energy balance. So as I previously mentioned, if you overconsume your calories, you'll place yourself in what's called a positive energy balance. Therefore, you're in a calorie surplus and you're going to gain weight. In contrast to this, if you want to lose weight, you need to place yourself in a calorie deficit, which means consuming less calories relative to maintenance. Therefore, you'll be placed in negative energy balance. If you do this constantly over time, you will lose body fat. So I think it's fairly important to understand this because the problem is people seem to demonize certain macronutrients, in particular carbohydrates. But before that, it would be fat or it would be sugar. People like to just have something to target to blame for weight gain, but really it's the overconsumption of that food which is causing it. Now, it is problematic because people will believe that it's certain types of food that's causing them to gain weight or body fat, and they're just trying to radically cut that out their diet, even if it's foods they enjoy. Now, this isn't good because it's not sustainable, and why should they cut out foods they enjoy to lose body fat when it's simply a matter of just creating a calorie deficit. So this is what I want to try and get across to you, that it's not the type of food that you're eating what's causing you fat, it's over consuming your calories, which is. Coming on a little side tangent now, I want to tell you a funny story from when I was younger. So I used to believe to get shredded that quote unquote that you needed to follow a clean eating diet. So for those of you who don't know, clean eating typically involves eating a lot of whole foods that aren't very calorie dense. So lots of lean meats and vegetables and rice and potatoes and things of that nature. So no word of a lie, I literally ate brown rice, chicken and broccoli every single day for 2 years. Now, to make matters worse, at the time I was working on a building site. Now, for any of you out there who's worked on a building site in the UK during winter will know that it is fucking shit. So, not only was I not having a great time at work, but to make matters worse, I didn't even have food to fall back on to cheer me up and give me that little bit of satisfaction throughout the day. Now, I will highlight I was shredded at this point due to being in a massive calorie deficit. Because the job I was doing was fairly labour intense, my energy expenditure was well through the roof. On top of that, I was going to the gym 5 days a week. So with the amount of calories I was burning, I was nowhere near consuming the amount of calories that I needed to build muscle and just generally feel energised. So this was a problem because I thought that clean eating was the only way to get shredded. So by eating really clean foods, which like I mentioned tend to be less calorie dense, I just created a massive deficit that was unnecessary, and that wasn't helping me achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve. Although I was shredded, I wasn't very happy because I wasn't very strong, my performance in the gym wasn't great, and like I mentioned, I didn't have nice food that could have just gave me a little bit of satisfaction throughout the day, which would have made things a little bit better. Now, only if I knew about energy balance, so calories in versus calories out, I could have been so much more flexible with my diet and actually included the foods that I enjoyed, and it would have gave me a lot more freedom in what I could have had to eat, which would have just generally made me feel happy. Now, the other problem with this is that come the weekend, I just tend to binge eat because I'd eat so clean and healthy throughout the week that come the weekend, as soon as I had a little bit of sugar, I would just go mad and just like binge eat loads of shit. So it was a pretty counterproductive way of doing things, as you can tell. Okay, so moving on, let's take a look at what the scientific literature has to say about certain types of macronutrients and their effect on weight loss. So this 2009 study done just exactly that. They compared different types of macronutrients and their effect on weight loss. So for this study, they assigned 811 random adults and they categorized them into 4 groups, where each of the groups had a different type of diet. So each of the diets differed by having a different macronutrient split, so a different ratio of protein, carbohydrates and fats. For example, group 1 followed a high carb, average protein and a low fat diet. Group 2 followed an average carb, high protein and a low fat diet. Group 3 followed a moderately low carb, average protein and high fat diet. And lastly, group 4 followed a moderately low carb, high protein and high fat diet. So to conclude, there's a mix of diets there. 2 diets were low fat, 2 were high fat and 2 were average protein and 2 were high protein. Now here's the important bit. Each of the participants was given a calorie deficit of 750 calories. So that's 750 calories minus their maintenance calories, or put in other words, 750 calories minus their total daily energy expenditure. So that placed them in a calorie deficit, a pretty substantial calorie deficit too. So what was the outcome? 6 months into the study, the participants lost an average of 6 kilograms. So as you can see here, all 4 groups lost a meaningful amount of weight regardless of what diet they followed. Furthermore, this diagram represents the change in weight in kilograms for all of the 645 participants who completed the study and provided measurements after 2 years. The black solid bars represent high protein, high fat and high carbohydrates, and the hollow bars next to it represent low protein, low fat and low carbs. So it's clearly shown here, it doesn't matter what macronutrients you consume, weight loss is going to occur if you're in a calorie deficit. Now, I do wish to highlight that this was a free living study, whereby the participants wasn't living in a metabolic ward. However, each of the participants was given training, exercise classes, and they were also provided with a meal plan and meals each day. They were also instructed to log their food and beverages each day to make sure they hit their calorie and macronutrient targets. Now, another important thing to note is that the study integrated behaviour counselling to promote the adherence to the assigned diets. This is important because it meant that the participants wasn't completely left to their own initiatives or own devices. They had a source of accountability to help them stay on track and stick to their calorie and macronutrient targets. So I wish I could end the video here and put it to bed, but I know there'll be people out there who will say, well, we know that you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, but following a keto diet is more superior to any other diet. So they're demonized carbohydrates, or even in even more extreme cases, use the carbohydrate insulin model, which states that obesity isn't caused by the overconsumption of calories, but instead it's caused by eating processed carbohydrates or carbohydrates, which spike insulin, and that insulin then traps the fat in the fat cells, which doesn't allow us to use the fat as a source of energy. Now, this is incorrect. This isn't true. There has been hundreds of random controlled studies in humans which compare whether low carbohydrate diets are superior for fat loss compared to other diets. Now, as you will see demonstrated here, fat loss will always be a result of energy balance, whether that's the energy in part being affected or the energy out part being affected, or a combination of them both. So in simple forms, if you eat less and move more, you will lose body fat. Sounds like I'm hating on the ketogenic diet. I'm definitely not. I think that a low carb diet can be very effective for some people to lose body fat, but there's nothing superior about it. It only works by removing a big macronutrient source from your diet, so removing carbohydrates, therefore creates a big calorie deficit, which allows the person to lose weight. Now, from an energy standpoint, some people do operate or function better off a low carb diet and a high fat diet. Now, if that's the case and that's you, then go ahead, follow a ketogenic diet. If that helps you stick to your weight loss goal or just helps you feel more energized, therefore being more sustainable, then that would be a good route for you personally to go down. But it doesn't mean that you should preach to other people that low carb is the only way to go about losing body fat. Another important thing to note is that when you do follow a ketogenic diet, you will typically lose weight fairly quickly due to losing water weight. So for every gram of carbohydrates that you consume, your body stores 3 grams of water. So when you remove carbohydrates, you quite quickly lose a lot of water weight. So when you step on the scale and you're lighter, it may appear to some people, or some people believe, that that loss in mass is due to fat mass, when really it's just water mass. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I'm not saying that keto isn't effective for fat loss, because it certainly is. So to summarise this video, obesity is caused by the overconsumption of calories and not by certain foods. Now, the best advice I could prescribe to someone if they want to lose weight is pick a diet that's sustainable so that you can stick to it, create a calorie deficit, so eat less and just move more. If you do them 3 things, I can guarantee you, if you're consistent in it, that you'll be able to lose body fat, okay? So you don't need to start following these weird diets or cutting out certain foods that you enjoy. You just need to apply the basic principles and you will get the results, I promise. So thank you very much for listening. I hope this video has been helpful for you. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a message, an email, whatever it is. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great day.